important. People are important, even though in the age of AI and tech, skills like confidence and leadership and resilience is so needed in this day and age now more than ever. So let's get started. All right, so why this matters. Neurodivergent professionals are shaping the data world, yet their voices often go unheard. Data thrives on diverse ways of thinking. Many of the most innovative analysts, engineers, and architects see patterns others miss because of how their brains are wired. Yet in environments built around normative communication styles or social expectations, their brilliance can be overlooked, not due to lack of skill, but lack of visibility. So it's not that neurodivergent professionals aren't speaking, it's that the system isn't always listening. And this is so important, right? I know what it feels like to be, not unheard, underrepresented. And it's so important to see different perspectives, different voices, different ideas, different solutions, and every person has something to contribute. And strengths, pattern recognitions, deep focus, creative problem solving. Neurodivergent talent often brings extraordinary analytical strengths. Pattern recognition, spotting anomalies, correlations, and signals faster and deeper than peers. They're hyper-focused, sustained attention that drives breakthroughs in debugging, modeling, and system design. Creative problem solving, nonlinear thinking that fuels innovation in algorithms, data energy, and visualization. And these are not soft advantages, they're competitive differentiators in data-driven organizations. I mean, these are important skills to have, strengths to have, especially when it comes to solving problems in data. Being hyper-focused is really important. Pattern recognition, creative problem solving. In order to have different solutions, we need to have different ways to solve problems and get it from different voices, diverse voices, and neurodivergent voices can be the solution. So here's the challenges: visibility, confidence, communication barriers. Despite these strengths, systematic and interpersonal barriers remain. Visibility, contributions are sometimes overlooked because self-promotion feels unnatural or unsafe. I know self-promotion can be very uncomfortable at times. I totally understand. But in order to be seen as a leader, be seen as a voice, it is important to promote yourself, to share your skills and talents, to share your opinions, to share your different ways to solve problems so that you can be seen. And it can be scary at times, but you just take it one step at a time, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. Confidence. Many navigate self-doubt shaped by years of masking or misjudgment. I know self-doubt can creep in, imposter syndrome, thinking we're not good enough, thinking that something is wrong with us when there's nothing wrong. You're more than capable. And sometimes you need a reminder that you already have what it takes. It's just reminding you that you are confident, you are capable, and you can make this happen, even if you have no clue how you're going to make it happen. Communication. Neurotypical communication norms, especially around meetings, small talk, and social cues, can lead to misunderstandings or exclusion. So I think it's important to be aware of that and, just have open conversations if there is a miscommunication. This tension can cause under-recognition of leadership potential and reduce psychological safety. I think that's so important in the workplace, having psychological safety, knowing that, there's a safe space to make mistakes, to be okay, to pivot, to innovate, in order to get the results that we truly want, especially in data. So goal today, turn confidence into inclusion. Today's session isn't about fixing neurodivergent professionals. It's about affirming them. We'll explore how confidence, when cultivated through self-awareness and neuroaffirming strategies, become a bridge, transforming visibility into voice and voice into leadership. When individuals feel confident showing up as themselves, inclusion stops being an initiative and it becomes a lived experience. So brilliance without voice, the hidden confidence gap in data teams. The confidence gap isn't about ability, it's about visibility. So in data environments, competence is often mistaken for confidence. Neurodivergent professionals frequently deliver exceptional results, cleaner code, sharper analysis, deeper insights, but struggle to be seen in their impact. This confidence doesn't mean a lack of skill, it means a system that rewards performance at confidence more than substance. So in many teams, confidence gets promoted before competence gets recognized. And here's some common barriers that we go through. Overcompensating through perfectionism. Many neurodivergent professionals cope with self-doubt by striving for flawless work, spending hours refining dashboards, documentation, or code long after it's already solid. While perfectionism can drive excellence, it often delays visibility. Others see the result, but not in the effort or leadership behind it. So the impact, you get exhaustion, burnout, and misrecognition for thought process or strategy. I know a lot of us feel like we need to have everything perfect to a T, but sometimes perfectionism actually delays our success, it delays our visibility. Sometimes it's better is per, like progress is better versus perfectionism. Better is done than perfect, or there's a term that I'm trying to remember, but I totally forgot. But it's basically saying the imperfect work is better than waiting for perfectionism, right? Sometimes you just got to put it out there. And if there's a mistake, we'll figure it out. We can always fix it. We can always pivot. And sometimes your greatest opportunities will come from your mistakes. And sometimes we might have to go through some of these struggles and mistakes that we go through so that we can have a better solution for the data that we're working on. So, in my book, The Bridging the Confidence Gap, I talk about a strategy called Ready, Fire, Aim. And so I use that in my own journey as well because I also tend to overthink and wait for perfectionism. And really, that's all about start before you're ready, take action, and course correct as you go. And the more you keep doing that, the more you can get the results that you truly want. And so, perfectionism not only neurodivergent professionals go through that, but many of us go through that, right? Because of how society sees perfection. We look at social media and we see like a perfect photo, not realizing it's heavily edited, or we look at a cover of a fashion model in a magazine, and that's also heavily edited. So we need to learn to realize that that's all not real and that perfectionism isn't real, and that we need to learn to execute the work, course correct as we go to get the result that we truly need. So if you've been there, don't worry, a lot of us go through it. Fear of self-promotion or bragging. Self-advocacy can feel unnatural or even uncomfortable, especially in cultures that make humility for invisibility. Neurodivergent individuals might downplay achievements or assume the work speaks for itself. But in environments driven by metrics and meetings, if you don't narrate your impact, it often goes unseen. This is something I can relate to growing up in Asian culture. We've been taught to work hard, work hard, work hard, and the work speaks for itself. Unfortunately, that's not always the case. Sometimes you're only seen as a hard worker, and it's really important to show up, to share the achievements that you've accomplished, to share, the solutions you've provided, and speak up. I know it's very scary at times. I've been there, but self-promotion is leadership. You're advocating for yourself, you're showing others what's possible, you're paving the way, you're breaking barriers. And so it's really important to put yourself out there, to share all the things that you've accomplished, to share, the ideas that you have to make the data better, to have better solutions. And, you don't have to do this alone. You're in this conference because you want to learn from other people, you want to connect with other people. You can also find help to help you get out of that. It's sometimes our upbringing is what stops us from self-promotion. Like we've been told to never brag, never make any noise, stay in the background, do as you're told. And so for me, self-promotion was very scary. For me, I had a lot of anxiety. I would like stutter when I would start to promote myself. But now I understand that it is necessary to lift up, underrepresented voices, to show others what's possible and keep moving forward and break the barriers that we still go through today. So don't be afraid to promote yourself or brag or share something that you've accomplished, because you've worked hard to get there, and it'd be a disservice if you didn't talk about it. Misalignment between technical and clarity and self-expression. Data work Data work demands precision. Communication often demands nuance. For many, the challenge isn't knowing the data but transitioning it from SQL to story, from detail to direction. Misunderstandings can arise when direct, literal, or detail-heavy communication is perceived as blunt or disengaged. So the result is communication style gets misread as lack of confidence, even when the expertise is exceptional. So I think having different ways to communicate is so important. There's so many um, different cultures, different backgrounds, different upbringings that we have in a certain workplace. And I think it's important to have different communication styles, be able to have open conversations, because sometimes, those open conversations is where you can solve those problems. I've talked to a lot of people who said, yeah, I didn't realize my teammate beside me, they would never talk before. So I thought, they never wanted to contribute anything, but really, I never asked them. And when I asked them, they had really a lot of things to say and a lot of great suggestions. So even something as simple as that can break that communication barrier. So these are some of the hidden gaps that we deal in teams, in data teams. And so here's the result. Expertise are unnoticed, leadership unrecognized. The people building the data pipelines, models, and insights often remain behind the scenes. Their contributions are praised, but the potential to lead, influence, and innovate goes unseen. When visibility doesn't match ability, inclusion suffers. The gap widens not because of lack of talent, but because of structural and cultural barriers to confidence. You can be the smartest person in the room, but if you're not visible, your voice can't change the system. I think this is so important because I know sometimes we feel like it's so hard to show up. I've been there, but in order for things to change, you have to be visible, right? I always say nothing happens if nothing happens, right? Or nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you're not the person to step up, we get left unseen. And so sometimes it also takes confidence on our part to step up, to share our voice, to be seen in this world. And so that's why we need frameworks like Visible, which is a framework that I've created, and we'll go a little bit deeper on that. It's not just to build confidence, but to redefine how confidence looks in neurodiverse, data-driven spaces. We're not trying to fit into a mold, we're expanding it. So we want to go bigger. We want people who are underrepresented, who feel like they're invisible, to be visible. And this is the framework that I've created and shared with other conferences and other industries. So here is the Visible framework. It's a roadmap for building confidence and elevating neurodivergent leadership. And as you see on the left, the letters, the word visible is there, and each letter represents something. So V is voice, expressing your perspective with strength and self-trust. I is identity, embracing your neurodivergent strengths and story. S is for spotlight, creating visibility without self-doubt. I is inner work, managing self-talk, energy, and resilience. B is belief, rewiring limiting narratives. L is leverage, using networks, allies, and tools strategically. E is for elevation, turning confidence into influence and advocacy. And we're going to go a little bit deeper for each letter so that you can figure out how to utilize it in your own journey through each of the pillars of this framework. So I hope you'll enjoy that. So V is voice, right? Your voice is your data signature. It's how your perspectives, ideas, and insights are communicated to the world. For neurodivergent professionals, the challenge often isn't what to say, but how to say it in environments that value confidence over clarity. So your voice carries the power to influence decisions, set direction, and shape culture. Many neurodivergent professionals stay silent not from uncertainty, but from overanalysis or fear of misinterpretation. Confidence begins when you reclaim your communication style. Whether it's concise, analytical, or methodical, use it intentionally. So here's some tools and strategies for you that you can use. You can do the pause, purpose, power technique. So before speaking, pause for a breath, clarify your purpose. Ask yourself, what do I want to communicate? And speak with power, not volume, but conviction. Micro visibility, share one insight per week in a team chat, community forum, or meeting. Consistency builds recognition. I think this is so important. Sometimes we feel like we need to take huge steps or big leaps to build confidence when really you just need to take it one step at a time. So even just sharing one idea, one insight, ask a question once a week, start with that and build it up as you go. You'd be surprised how many people I talk to who are so afraid to share their idea or ask a question because they're afraid it might sound stupid, or people might laugh at them. But really, the person beside them just said the same exact thing and was praised for it. So I want you to get into the habit of sharing that one idea or one question per week in a team meeting, so that helps you slowly build your confidence, right? They say this, for me, I'm all about small actionable daily steps because that is what yields the great results, right? So it's like if you want to run a marathon, you're not going to run 21 miles at once when you've never ran a mile in your life. You might start with half a mile or a quarter of a mile, and then slowly increase that as you go to reach the 42 or the 21 miles. So it's the same thing. Just start with one insight per week and slowly build up on that. Voice reframing. So, instead of saying, I'm not sure, but, so, you can replace it with, based on the data, here's what I see. It sounds more confident, it sounds better. You can always practice that as well. When you start saying, well, I'm not sure, you can like think about it. Wait, this is what I want to say. So what message or idea, so it is important to share your voice, um, be able to speak up, because if you don't speak up, then we become invisible. I know what it's not always easy, it's scary, but that's why you take those small leaps. That's why you start doing the micro visibility, just by sharing one idea per week or even writing it. Do what makes you comfortable, for sure, to start with, and then slowly build up on that. So here's a question I want to ask you. What message or idea do you want to be known for on your team? So think about that. You can write it down, you can take a screenshot, and then you can think about that after the presentation, after the talk, and write that down yourself. I is for identity. Confidence grows when you stop apologizing for how you think and start recognizing the strategic advantage of your unique cognitive wiring. Neurodivergence shapes perception. You may notice details, inconsistencies, or efficiencies others miss. You have self-awareness of your strengths and needs help and needs helps you communicate clearly and advocate effectively. Masking, suppressing traits to fit norms drains confidence. Authenticity restores it. I think this is so important, to be able to show up authentically yourself. I know sometimes we feel like we have a limitation that stops us, but sometimes that can be your greatest strength. And when you focus on your greatest strengths, you'd be surprised what you can achieve. So, a lot of us feel like being different is a liability, but it's not. Being different is what really makes you stand out and be the person that you're meant to be. And, I've seen so many people of influence be successful because they embrace their difference. They embrace who they truly are instead of trying to be somebody else. So, don't be afraid to show up as yourself. You are who you are for a reason. And it's important to embrace that, because once you embrace that and feel comfortable with who you are authentically, then you can produce the best work that you have. So here's some tools and strategies that you can use. Strength inventory. Identify 3 traits tied to your neurotype. So example, pattern recognition, deep focus, honesty, and link each to a professional win. So, think about that. What are 3 traits that you have, and write down at least one professional win. Reframe quirks as superpower, right? You have a superpower. It's not a quirk, it's a superpower. My directness is my clarity. My hyperfocus is my precision. Share your working style preference in early collaborations. It builds understanding, not stigma. Open communication is so important. Like I mentioned, when you're in a team, there's different personalities, different communication styles, different working styles. So it's really important to start building that understanding so that you can work better as a team and succeed. So here's a question I want to ask you. What part of your identity do you want to lean into more at work? So think about that. Think about the traits that you're going to write down and share the professional win. Sometimes the right answers appear when you start asking the right questions. So I hope these questions are the right questions that you've been thinking about, and be able to have the right answers come to you. Spotlight. Visibility isn't vanity, it's advocacy. You deserve to be seen for your work, not just your output. The key is to find visibility strategies that honor your energy and authenticity. I think it's so important to share your achievements, share what you've been able to accomplish, because it's important to show others what's possible, right? And if you're not showing it, you're also doing a disservice. So it's really important to share your wins, share what you've accomplished, share your achievements, because you'd be surprised how many people would celebrate it for you. So many neurodivergent professionals prefer to let the data speak for itself, but data needs a storyteller, right? Your work will not speak for itself. You have to be the one telling them why you did what you did, why it works, what's the story behind it, what's the purpose behind it. Visibility isn't about performing confidence, it's about communicating contribution, right? You're communicating your contribution to your team and to your company. The more visible you are, the easier it becomes to advocate for yourself and others. So this is why Spotlight is so important. Like I mentioned, it's not just about for you, it's for other people. It's to show others what's possible. It's to show them that you're more than capable and you have skills and superpowers that you never thought would make a big difference, but it does, right? And the more you share it out, the more you share your story, the more you share your contributions, more people will come to you, and it helps you be seen as an expert, as a leader in your field. So here's some tools and strategies that you can use. Micro stories. Here's what I found when analyzing X. This is very simple storytelling data that you could use, because you're not, this is just based on your observations, what you were able to research, what you were able to come up with. And when you start with that, people will resonate with you, will be able to understand what you have to offer. And, it's a lot easier to communicate with. Peer amplification. Support others publicly. It normalizes mutual visibility, especially when you're in a team. Maybe before you start a meeting, just have a little winning circle where you just share a win that you have accomplished this week, and just give each other high fives, celebrate each other. This really just helps the mood come up, and be able to be a team, right? So, start sharing that, start, utilizing it in your own teams. Share wins safely, through internal Slack channels, newsletters, retrospectives, choose low pressure forums that align with your communication style. I think this is so important, having, low pressure, because sometimes when we try to do something, we have so much pressure to accomplish it, even if we don't know what that looks like or how we start to do it. So sometimes having that low pressure is really, really, it's great. Like in my book, I talk about low risk confidence, which is something that, makes total sense. So like if you were to apply for a job and you're so afraid of interviews, like practice with your friend, practice with your sister, brother, husband, wife, your mother, because that's low risk. Even if you screw up, it's okay, right? You practice through them so that when you get to the real interview, it's a lot easier, right? Because you've been practicing it. So it's the same thing, just pick something that's low risk, low pressure to start sharing those wins. Like I mentioned, the small actionable daily steps, and you can slowly build up on that. So here's a question I would love to ask you. What's one small way you could share your work or impact more visibly this week? So think about that, write this down, share a screenshot, and think about what's that one small way you could use today to impact your visibility, to share your work, to share what you've accomplished, to be in the spotlight, because you deserve the spotlight. Inner work. So inner work is about managing your self-talk, energy, and emotional boundaries. For neurodivergent individuals, mental load and masking can deplete confidence, but awareness and self-compassion can rebuild it. So confidence is emotional regulation in action. It's not the absence of fear, but the ability to move through it. I think this is so important, because a lot of people think that being fearless is not having fears, but that's the total opposite. Being fearless is having those fears, but pushing through it anyway. That's what courage is, right? We're learning to push through those fears, and we all have fears that we want to overcome. Because once we overcome that fear, that's when confidence kicks in. We created a result. We realize that fear we had that we were able to overcome, it wasn't as bad as it seemed, and I was able to tackle it. And if I was able to tackle that, what else can I tackle? Self-doubt and imposter feelings are signals, not verdicts. Self-acceptance is a practice, not a personality trait. I think people don't realize that the inner work is probably one of the most important things to do. How you talk to yourself, the things you've gone through. Maybe you've gone through some trauma that hasn't been healed through properly. We need to work through that, because if we don't work through that, it's going to speak into our work. So we really have to work on our inner self, which means being able to surround yourself with like-minded people, being able to work on personal development every day, being able to come to talks like this, listen to podcasts, read books, and here's some other tools and strategies that you could do. Daily grounding, 2-minute mindfulness or sensory check-in to reset your nervous system. And that can look like anything. Maybe it's just staying quiet for 2 minutes, being in a Zen room, looking outside, taking a walk, 2 minutes of your time, right? To just reset your nervous system so you can feel better and not be so like anxious or high pressure. Cognitive reframing, catch the I can't thoughts to rewrite them into I'm learning to. This was something that I've learned to do as well, right? I would always say like the worst things about me, and I had to reframe it. If I said that I'm ugly, I had to think of the opposite so that I would be a lot nicer to myself, because I was my own worst enemy. I would say every wrong thing about myself, and that didn't help me. And so when I decided to reframe it, I became my own best friend. And we have to be our own best friend, right? You would never treat your best friend that way, so why would you treat yourself like that? So start, reframing the things that you say to yourself. Also, energy inventory. Track what drains or fuels your focus and confidence. Then adjust your schedule around your natural rhythm. So maybe you've spent, too much time on social media. If anyone's ever gone through like a doom scroll, I've been there as well. I'd realize, oh, I need to kind of cut that time off to focus on myself. Maybe you're watching a little too much TV, or you might be hanging out with the wrong person. Do your best to adjust it so it helps you protect your energy, right? Everything is energy. So if you have bad energy, it's going to bring you down. So you need to let all that bad energy out so that new and good energy comes in. And I know this probably isn't like something that you're normally hearing, but it is important. All this really helps you and your confidence, and it ties in. The purpose of this framework is to have inner and outer work so that you can show up as your best self and be visible and be seen. So I hope some of these strategies work for you. And here's a question that I would love to ask you. When do you feel most at ease and in flow? And how can you create more of that in your day? So maybe it's having slow mornings, maybe it's taking a walk, maybe it's listening to a positive audio, or just spending time with your loved ones, right? For me, I like taking walks outside especially if my mental health is deteriorating a little bit. I just need to be in nature. I just need to be around water, around trees, and I just feel at peace, and it helps me just show up better. So even if I take like a 10-minute walk, that actually helps me out, kind of reset everything. So think about it, maybe journaling is something that you want to do, or starting to listen to podcasts, or maybe re-listening to this talk. Figure that out, right? Feel free to write this question again, or just take a screenshot and you can answer that after this, and really like think about this. When do you feel most at ease and in flow, and how can you create more of that more of that in your day? So B is for belief, right? Belief is the foundation of visible confidence. If the internal narrative says, I'm not ready or I don't fit, no amount of strategy will stick. Confidence becomes sustainable when it's built on self-trust, not external validation. I think this is so important. And I'm sure you've probably heard this phrase, believe in yourself, one too many times. Me too, right? But it's so important to really have that belief, to know that you are capable, to know that you can make it happen, even if you don't know what it looks like, right? Belief is just knowing you can make it happen. And you have the skills, the power, the talents to figure it out. And and if you And it's so true that if you don't have that belief, you're not going to go out there and take the first step. So really, everything starts with the belief in yourself, knowing that you're capable and that you're going to figure it out. And it's not about timelines, it's just that knowing you will get to that end result and you will figure it out as you go. So, belief forms through repetition, internal or external. Challenge what doesn't serve you. For many neurodivergent professionals, early experiences of misunderstanding create quiet doubt. Replace comparison with calibration. Measure growth against yourself, not others. I know sometimes it's easy to play the compare game. I mean, I grew up in a culture where everything was compared, right? The best grades, the best schools, who got the best job, who had the best wedding, things like that. But really, we need to learn to measure our progress, our growth. What would, the difference between yesterday and today and how we were able to grow. And when you can focus on yourself, then you put the blinders on and the distractions go away. So start doing that. And then here's some tools and strategies for you. So here's an affirmation formula. It's fact, feeling, and future. So here's an example. I solved that data, which is the issue, the fact, the data issue, which is a fact. I felt capable, which is a feeling. I can lead the next project, which is the future. So, if you use it this way, it helps you bring your belief back and really build on it. Confidence evidence log, right? This is, I think, the most important. Document small wins weekly. Track your progress visually. I also have a list of wins that I have so that when I feel doubt, I look at that and I'm like, wow, I've been able to accomplish all this. Like, why am I destroying my own belief when I've done all this? Sometimes you just need to see what you've been able to accomplish in the past to show what you're capable of and how you can make things happen. So you can have it on your little phone app, you can write it down, you can have a book, but have that so you can go back to it every time you have moments of self-doubt or you don't believe in yourself. And then here's create a belief audit, identify one limiting story and replace it with a grounded truth, right? So maybe you're like, I can't do this because this is something new. And maybe you need to go back in time where you realize you were in a similar situation and you were actually able to accomplish that, right? So when you say, I'm not ready for it because I'm new, that's actually not the truth because you've already done something that you started that was brand new that you had no clue about and was able to make it happen. So think about that, think about that belief audit, think about the things that you've said negatively to yourself and find proof that, you were able to show them that it was possible. And so here is a question that I would love to ask you. What belief about yourself is ready to be rewritten? So again, what belief about yourself is ready to be rewritten? So start thinking about that. If there's anything you really need to work on, is your belief. This is really the foundation, right? You really have to understand that you are more than capable and you can make it happen. And I know it's easier said than done. This is why it takes work every single day to build your belief so that when challenges happen, you have what it takes to make it happen. You will accomplish it and you don't have to worry about how you're going to do it. You're going to figure it out. You're going to figure it out as you go. And so work on that belief. Work on that belief so hard because this is really how it starts. When you have that belief in yourself, you will be more willing to take action. You'll be more willing to make mistakes. To get to the end result, you'll be able to show up imperfect and get to that result that you want to achieve. So build on that belief. Know that you are more than capable to make it happen. L is for leverage. So confidence expands when shared. Allies, mentors, and systems amplify your impact and create sustainable visibility. Leverage means using resources, relationships, and structure to support your confidence goals. The most confident people don't work solo. They build safety nets. Leverage is strategic, not dependent, right? You together as a team, this is important, right? Because it's not just about you. A lot of us feel like when we're in this journey of leadership and confidence, we have to do everything ourselves when that's far from the truth. Your confidence increases a lot more when you can leverage your networks, the people around you, and utilize that. So Here's some tools and strategies for you. Allies. Find colleagues who get your wiring. They can translate, advocate, or amplify, right? As a team, you could do that. You can maybe have an accountability with each other and figure that out so that you can show up better. Mentorship. Seek mentors who value cognitive diversity, not conformity, right? Mentorship is important. Tools and tech. Automate low energy tasks like meeting notes or reminders to protect mental bandwidth. Disclosure with strategy. Choose when and how to share neurodivergence. It's about empowerment, not obligation. So I hope some of these will help you out and realize that, you have allies, mentors, teammates that can help you lift you up as well. So leveraging that to build up your confidence. Who can help you be more visible, supported, and sustainable in your confidence journey? This is a question I want to ask you. There's at least one person out there who can support you all the way. It could be a family member, it could be someone in your team, it could be someone you look up to. It's different for everybody. So, think about that after this talk. Think about who could support you in this journey of yours. And the last letter is E for elevation, right? The ultimate goal isn't personal confidence, it's elevating others through the example you set. Confidence that lifts others becomes leadership, right? So now you are the one lifting other people out. You've been through the rough, you made the first move, and you want to bring others the same because there's more than enough space at the top. And when we elevate, it's a win-win situation for everyone. So elevation is about transforming visibility into impact. When you share your voice, you create space for others to do the same. True leadership is neuroaffirming. It makes authenticity safe for everyone. Elevation is also systemic, advocating for inclusive hiring, communication norms, and sensory-friendly environments. So it is important to elevate each other, elevate ourselves and each other at the same time to have more people who are more confident, who can step up to the plate and be able to create better impact for everybody. So here's some tools and strategies. Mentor peers. Mentor your peers, help others navigate confidence and communication challenges, advocate for accessibility, suggest inclusive meeting norms such as written agendas, asynchronous options, celebrate difference, normalize diverse communication styles on your team. I think this is important. Like I mentioned, as when you're in a team, there's different personalities, different communication styles, different upbringings, different culture. So it is important to have different communication styles so that you are all aligned and can work better as a team. So this was the last letter of the visible framework. And here's a question I would love to ask you that you can do later on. How can you use your confidence to help elevate others' voices in your community or workplace? So your voice does matter. You would be surprised how many people you can elevate in the process as well. So again, how can you use your confidence to help elevate others' voices in your community or workplace? So let's bring it all together. Visible framework equals neuro-affirming confidence in action. So if you speak up, the outcome is clarity. When you embrace your identity, the outcome is authenticity. When you embrace being in the spotlight, you get recognized. The inner work is building your resilience. And resilience is so important because we're going to have days where it's not always good. We'll probably have more bad days than good. And it's important to keep moving forward in spite of it, right? One of the reasons, all those successful people that you see in the media, part of the reason why they succeeded was because they were resilient and persistent even when times are tough. When you can push through those, you build your confidence, you become invincible, and you can tackle on everything. When you believe in yourself, you empower yourself and others. When you leverage your network, it's all about connecting with others, connecting with other people in your team and beyond. And when you elevate yourself and others, you include everybody. So I hope this framework helps you out, the visible framework, and realize how it can help you in your own confidence journey in action. So here's a confidence roadmap exercise. So the goal is to build your personal plan, and you can take a screenshot of this or write it down. But I will also share it out. So identify one barrier to confidence. So identify that one barrier. Maybe it's belief. Maybe you're afraid to speak up. Maybe you're afraid to be in the spotlight. Share that. Choose one visible pillar to focus on. So maybe you need to work on your belief. You need to work on speaking up. You need to work on your inner work. Whatever that is, pick one. Create one micro action to apply in your data work this week. So like I mentioned, small actionable daily steps yield the great results. I want you to take small actions so that it helps you win and build your confidence as you go, because it's the small actionable daily steps that yield the big results. So again, identify one barrier to confidence, choose one visible pillar to focus on, create one micro action to apply in your data work this week. So this is your confidence roadmap exercise. So here's some key takeaways from this talk. Confidence is not about changing yourself. It's about revealing yourself. It's about showing up as authentically you, because this is what people are craving also, especially in the world of social media, filters, AI. We definitely need more authenticity out there. Neurodivergence is a leadership asset, not a limitation. When every voice is confident, the data tells a fuller story. So I hope some of these key takeaways will help you out. And I wanted to share this quote to end this conversation. Visibility isn't about being loud. It's about being seen for who you are. So again, visibility isn't about being loud. It's about being seen for who you are. And who you are is more than enough that you can bring to the world. And so that's the end of the presentation. Here's also a like barcode that you can scan. You can connect with me through all my social media. I also have a visibility framework toolkit that's free to download. I have some other tools and resources, my website, some good stuff, my books. I also have a podcast where I've interviewed over 800 women on the topic of confidence. So I have lots of good stuff for you to help you build your confidence journey. And I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. And I know this is being recorded, so you can always go back to it to check it out. Maybe there was something you missed, something you need to write down. But let me just I'm trying to find the stop share button. Gotta love technology, right? But again, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you were able to take one thing that you learned today and just take it into action. Maybe the confidence roadmap, learning the visible framework, and taking one pillar out to use in your own journey this week. So let me just stop sharing, and let me just put my camera on. So if anybody has any questions, please let me know. Yeah.
Awesome, Sheena. Thank you for the presentation. I apologize. My camera will stay off. I've been sick for a couple days. No one needs to see this.
Oh, no worry. I hope you feel better.
Thank you. But great presentation. So what caused you to write that book, Bridging the Confidence Gap?
Oh, yeah. So that's a great question. So I've actually written two books. My first one was called The Tao of Self-Confidence, and it talks about the importance of working through your trauma to show up as your best self, because trauma really holds us back from a lot of things. A lot of people have asked me how to build confidence, and I actually always ask them, what's really stopping you? What's the root cause as to why you're feeling this way? So it was really important to do that. And then because the first book did so well, my publisher, Wiley, asked me if I wanted to write a second book. And I didn't even think I had a second book in me, but I also saw a stat from the World Economic Forum that mentioned total gender parity would be achieved at the earliest in the year 2154. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and unfortunately, that's when I wrote the book, which was last summer. And so now it's delayed 4 more years. So now they're saying it's 2158. And so it's important to, especially for women, to see that they're more than capable to make it happen. And I wrote this book to help women see their potential, to realize, it's okay to promote, we all go through imposter syndrome, why confidence is needed, why we need to have courage, why we need more women in leadership. A lot of women, there's so many amazing, more than capable women out there, but really how they see themselves stops them from moving forward. And when we're silent, it hurts us, right? Like I just
Hmm.
recently wrote a newsletter on LinkedIn called the Silence Tax. So the more we don't show up, the more we don't get in stages, in leadership roles, and etc. So that's why I wrote the book Bridging the Confidence Gap.
Outside of just ADHD in itself, I think when we start looking at gender and women with ambition, we're very uncomfortable with women's ambition, I think, as a whole, no matter what
Yes.
society we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Especially because, we're also seeing like for women, when we um go out there and do our own thing, we're always seen as too much, too ambitious. It's not ladylike, and we really need to abolish those labels and just keep
Yep.
normalizing just going after everything. Because that's how we can hopefully shave those years off too.
Yeah, that date kind of bothers me extensively. I ended up writing a book years ago called Crushing the IT Gender Bias. And it
Yeah.
was definitely women in tech and the challenges that we face and everything that I'd seen between more traditional Oracle communities versus, a little bit farther ahead with the Microsoft community. Because I'm an odd duck. I follow across a number of different communities there and now open source. And it is interesting how each of them act. I just was at an older technology technical conference this last week, and Tracy knows she's hiding out there behind the scenes. I showed her a picture of the promo for it, and she was like, "That's creepy," because it was all the women behind the scenes of the event,
Yeah.
kind of standing at the stairs like a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
And I ended up writing a blog post on it because I said, I haven't had to face this much recently. I'm in more thought forward communities that I had forgotten just how bad it was in some of the older tech communities for women. And especially as somebody who's neurodiverse, I just think that I should be able to do whatever the guys are doing. That's always
Yeah.
just been how I am.
It's
So I'm
it's
really confused when I see it.
It's tough. It's so tough. Like, I speak at a lot of different events, different industries, especially tech. Like, sometimes I'm the only female speaker, and it's like, it's 2025, and we're still going through this, and it's unfortunate, right? And this is why being
Yeah.
visible is so important, showing up, being seen, because it breaks those barriers. Like, even if you're the only person showing up, like, you'd be surprised how it can make a difference for somebody. So, yeah, I mean, it's wild. That's all I could say.
No, you said it very well, and you said it better than I can today. Like I said, I'm not feeling my best right now, and I think there's a lot of words coming out of my mouth that don't actually go together. But it's every time that I go to an event, and it wasn't as bad this last time around as it's been in previous years. But early on, I remember being at an event and being one of 5 women at the entire event and being like, I think I was the keynote speaker that year, and how strange it was. And one of the women that supports the community showed up, and I was so glad to see her. I didn't even realize how much I reacted to her showing up to the event. I'm like, Laura. And I said, guys, I love all of my fellow male peers in the community, but I'm starved for female companionship right now because there's just too many of you and there's no women around. There's 3 at the entire event. And I was so happy to see Laura. It wasn't even funny. And she's like, well, Kellen, it's fine. But I said, it's the truth. I
Yeah,
said, having women in the technical community and contributing makes such a difference to the overall, just the value it provides, our contributions, and just tech as a whole is better.
yeah,
So it's a scary environment. And again, we're back into women in tech more so than neurodiversity, but I think it
yeah.
goes hand in hand some days.
I I think it's similar, we just feel invisible, we feel unseen, we feel like our differences are a liability, not realizing our difference is what makes us stand out. So,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all similar, and needing the need to be perfect. Perfection is obviously not real. So we have to like remind everybody, even myself.
I had to go through that. I had a strange medical condition where I ended up having a number of strokes, and they put me through therapy, just said, perfectionism is going to kill you. You
Yeah,
must stop. And I had to learn to be very happy with, you've done your best. Step back. That's good
yeah,
enough.
yeah,
It was a hard lesson, but it really changed, I think, my trajectory in life. Where
yeah,
before, I was kind of feeling, if I didn't become president of the United States, I was not living up to my mother's potential, what she expected for me. Instead, going, what does success mean for me? And even now, as there's kind of that very straight path, even in technology, where people say you go from being a DBA to a lead DBA to an IT manager to a CIO, that very direct path, where I just started looking at the C-level and going, not real thrilled with that. And my last position, I ended up the director of data and AI, and I didn't enjoy it. I did not enjoy it. So the opportunity to become a technical advocate again and to go deep into engineering, I just found so much more enjoyment from that. And it was kind of shifting my idea of what other people saw as success into what I saw as success, and really kind of, I guess, turning even my career on its ear and saying no
yeah,
more.
yeah.
Well,
I
this
think
was really incredible. What do we got coming up next? We've got a 15-minute break. And then I believe that I'm going to make sure I say her name.
Eva?
Siva's coming up next, I believe. Yes, with ethical AI through neurodivergent lens, building inclusive healthcare. Technology that works for all. That one I'm looking forward to myself too, as much as I think all of us end up in the data community working with healthcare data, because it's on the forefront of many of the hacks and the breaches and all of that comes on. Seeing it being viewed with healthcare and neurodiversity is a big deal, because it kind of changes it. It goes back into a more personal perspective. I think all of us have had that challenge as we've been diagnosed or considering being diagnosed, how healthcare may have a view into that.
yeah.
So with that, I think if there's no questions, or Tracy, did you have any questions? I know Josh has kind of been popping in and out here.
Nope, none. That was a great presentation. I enjoyed what I managed to come in on the last part of. I didn't join until about 1:30, so I had
Oh,
another meeting, but I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
Thank you very much for coming. I
thank
will
you,
And
thanks.
if that,
check out your book.
yeah,
Thank
and if
you.
that
Yeah, and then
recording,
there's a recording, so you can always go
awesome.
back. Yeah,
Yep, we will. I will be sending out an email just to confirm on recordings to make sure everybody's okay with posting those. But
yeah, I'm okay with it, so